I'm an innocent man, Your Honor, and I have always been an innocent man, Your Honor.
I'm so overwhelmed and so happy and so grateful for all the people that have believed in me and fought for me for all these years.
In a world where justice is meant to prevail, where the innocent should walk free, there exist stories that show us that humanity will always have to fight the fight against injustice. Join me on a journey through the depths of a broken system as we unveil the heart-wrenching tales of 5 individuals wrongly convicted. From the shattered dreams to the years of despair, these are 5 convicts that finally proved to the world that they were innocent. Number 5. David Ranta. David Ranta was convicted of the murder of Rabbi Haskell Wurzburger in 1991. The murder of Rabbi Haskell Wurzburger in 1991 sparked outrage within the close-knit and influential community of the Satmar Hasidic Jews in New York. Thousands of mourners attended Rabbi's funeral, and former Mayor David Dinkin even offered a substantial reward for information leading to an arrest. David Ranta, who had been in prison for the crime, however, would be released almost 2 decades later in 2013 after prosecutors admitted to having insufficient evidence linking him to the murder. A media report would also shed light on the mishandling of the case by detectives, further undermining the credibility of the original conviction. The presiding judge, although not involved in Mr. Ranta's initial trial, expressed her remorse for the tremendous suffering he had endured.
Mr. Ranta, to say that I'm sorry for what you have endured would be an understatement and grossly inadequate, but I say it to you anyway.
I'm overwhelmed. It's interesting, and I would just like to say thank each and every one of you for supporting me today on this.
The courtroom atmosphere was charged with emotion as Mr. Ranta, donning a green army-style jacket and carrying a sack of meager possessions from his prison cell, was joined by his overwhelmed and tearful relatives. Among them was his now pregnant daughter, who had been an infant at the time of his wrongful conviction. In a moment of candidness, when asked about his plans for the future, Mr. Ranta simply replied,
Get the hell out of here, maybe.
The troubling revelation brought to light by the New York Times investigation were pivotal in re-examining the case. Inadequate record-keeping, witness coaching, and the questionable circumstances surrounding Mr. Ranta's confession raised serious doubts about the validity of the original trial. Notably, no physical evidence connected Mr. Ranta to the murder, and the multiple witnesses even recanted their testimonies following his conviction. Number 4. John Bunn. This is John Bunn. He endured 17 years of imprisonment after being wrongfully convicted of murder before finally being exonerated. The case took a crucial turn when a retired detective, Louis Scarcella, under scrutiny for misconduct, when accused of manipulating evidence, coercing confessions, and giving misleading testimony. This revelation emerged in the context of the wrongful conviction of Mr. Bunn, who had been implicated in the murder of Ronaldo Neisser. The key witness, Robert Crossan, a surviving correction officer, testified against Mr. Bunn and his co-defendant, Rosine Hargrave. The actions of Detective Louis Scarcella, who conducted a controversial photo lineup, led to a comprehensive review of his cases. In 2016, Brooklyn Supreme Court Judge Shonda Simpson, recognizing the gross miscarriage of justice, overturned Mr. Bunn's conviction and ordered a retrial. Overwhelmed by emotions, John Bunn broke down in court upon hearing the long-awaited news of his exoneration. Finally vindicated after 27 agonizing years of fighting for his innocence. Tearfully addressing the judge, he asserted,
I'm an innocent man, Your Honor, and I have always been an innocent man.
Expressing his profound gratitude for the judge's unwavering dedication to justice. With deep disappointment, Mr. Bunn directed his words towards the prosecutors.
I want y'all to know that y'all convicted and had a wrong man in prison.
The weight of injustice finally lifted from his shoulders, reverberating his powerful message. Number 3. Luis Vargas. Luis Lorenzo Vargas spent 16 long, depressing years behind bars due to one shocking reason: his resemblance to the infamous teardrop rapist. This case, which captured national attention, involved Vargas being wrongfully convicted of sexually assaulting 3 women in 1999. After an arduous and relentless campaign to prove his innocence, Vargas's conviction was ultimately overturned by a judge in Los Angeles.
He is in fact innocent because the evidence will show that it undermines the prosecution's.
The pivotal moment arrived when DNA testing conclusively established that he was not responsible for the crimes.
Best thing about this case was that technology had advanced to the point where we were able to determine that this DNA could be used to show that this other person committed the crime.
Overwhelmed with emotion, Vargas burst into tears upon hearing the news of his exoneration. His eyes met with his weeping mother, and he mouthed the words, "I love you." Number 2. Kirstin Blaise Lobato. The harrowing tale of Kirstin Blaise Lobato serves as a stark reminder of the injustices that can befall individuals within the legal system. For nearly 16 years, Lobato languished in prison, wrongfully convicted of a crime she did not commit.
I thought that I was going to die in prison, and I'm so happy that I was wrong.
It was not until the tenacious efforts of the Innocence Project, an organization dedicated to seeking justice for the wrongfully accused, that Lobato's innocence was proven, leading to her long-awaited release. In May 2001, Lobato was visiting friends in Las Vegas when she found herself in a terrifying situation: a vicious attack in a budget suites parking lot. In self-defense, she used a knife to ward off her assailant, later recounting the incident to her loved ones. However, little did she know that the traumatic event would become entangled in a tragic murder case. On July 8, 2001, the lifeless body of Durain Bailey was discovered in a Las Vegas bank parking lot. Bailey's body bore signs of severe assault, with brutal bruises and mutilation inflicted upon him. 12 days later, the police received a call regarding Lobato's account of the attack. Lobato, assuming they were there about the assault she had experienced, soon realized the gravity of the situation. To her shock, she learned that she was being charged with a crime she had no involvement in. The subsequent investigation relied heavily on the testimony of a medical examiner who stated that Bailey had died around 4 a.m. on that fateful July morning. Unfortunately, Lobato's witnesses were unable to provide an alibi for her whereabouts at that specific time. Consequently, in 2002, she was wrongfully convicted of Bailey's murder. Lobato's misplaced trust in the justice system shattered when she faced a guilty verdict in 2006. A glimmer of hope emerged in 2016 with a new hearing and the support of the Innocence Project. Forensic entomologists' findings were crucial, revealing the absence of blowfly eggs on the victim's body.
In this particular case, we had a body that had absolutely no eggs on it. And the medical examiner is saying he's been dead all day. There's something wrong with this scenario.
This evidence, combined with witness testimonies placing Lobato elsewhere, led to the dropping of all charges against her. Reflecting on her arduous journey, Lobato expressed profound relief and gratitude.
I feel overwhelmed. I feel excited. I feel grateful. I'm so happy.
Number 1. Ricky Jackson. At the tender age of 18, Ricky Jackson and 2 childhood friends found themselves accused of a crime they had no connection to.
Well, the case happened in 1975. I was 18 years old at the time, and there was a neighborhood store that was robbed by 3 assailants, and somehow Edward Vernon became involved in the case. Apparently, he went to the police and told them that he was a witness and that he eventually identified myself, Ronnie Bridgman, and Wiley Bridgman as the assailants.
Shockingly, Jackson was sentenced to death by the electric chair, facing a fate he was entirely innocent of during the prime of his life. Recalling his time on death row,
It's not a place fit for human beings.
the best thing I can equate death row to is a dog kennel where all the dogs are being prepared to be euthanized, and they are left without any hope, he poignantly expressed.
We wouldn't do this to dogs. We wouldn't do this to animals.
It was not until 2013 when the individual who had testified against him as a 13-year-old finally recanted his story that a glimmer of hope appeared.
Well, I guess a lot of people would want me to hate that person and carry animosity towards him, but I don't. You know, people have to remember that they see him as a grown man today, but in 75, he was a 12-year-old kid. And he was manipulated and coerced by the police, you know, and they used him. They used him to get us in prison. So as far as that young man is concerned, I wish him the best. I don't hate him. I just wish he has a good life.
Jackson stressed that no matter the amount of money, the scars he and the Bridgman brothers carried were wounds that could never fully heal. And I can't blame him. You can never put a price on lost time. Reclaiming his freedom at the age of 57, 39 painful years later. Following his release, the Ohio court system made the decision to award Jackson $2 million compensation for the irreplaceable time he had unjustly spent behind bars.
It was extraordinary. I'm very happy. Needless to say, you know, words can't express how I feel right now. I'm just glad to be out, glad to be a free man.
That's all for today, folks. Which sentence do you think was the worst? Let me know in the comments, and if you like these types of videos, make sure to check out my channel and subscribe for more. Until next time, this is goodbye.